My name is Irene Ramirez. Currently, I am a senior at St. Cloud State University. I'm majoring in English and I'm minoring in communication studies. I think why I'm here, I suppose, or like here as in this point in my life, I was studying to be a teacher, and I saw all of these issues, like issues with structured or standard education, and to which I wasn't agreeing to myself personally. And there was mention of like Paulo Freire and critical pedagogy, and bell hooks. But I think for me, fundamentally, it's more about critical consciousness, which Freire also talked about. And I think so much of how we are raised within our culture, it doesn't encourage that critical thought or that critical consciousness. And, questioning of why are things the way that they are, and why do we think the way that we think about the things that are around us, and why don't, and then more importantly, why don't we question those things, or why aren't we taught those things, and what kind of system are we in? And I think that's really why I was driven to this point, because right now I'm majoring in English, and it isn't necessarily the major that I would ideally like to follow. However, I am limited, I think, where I began to go to school and things like that. There isn't a major for the things that I want to study, because I want to study feminist, revolutionary literature within Latin America, and I think women have been so marginalized within literature and this larger scope of like historical like documentation or their contributions. And so that's why that's what I've always wanted to study. And I was raised, I grew up reading Latin American literature, and so that's always a passion of mine, and I'd like to go back to that one day, which I do intend to pursue my PhD in. And so I think, to the core, it is that, what I'm most passionate about and why I'm here at this point in my life is because through critical consciousness we empower ourselves, and we see the world around us from a very different perspective, not just that it's here. We kind of talk about like the fish in the fish bowl. It doesn't really know that it's in the water, until it's out of the water, and then it was like, I was there the whole time. And so it's kind of how we are. And I think we go through a daily process of just going through motions, and then when we stop and think about why we do the things that we do, and why we don't think about them, or why we think the way that we think about them, or that whole know thyself, beginning to question all of the things around you, not to doubt them completely, but I think like the whole like Descartes, kind of doubting everything. I think we do that is possible to get to the core of ourselves, because after everything is gone, there's only ourselves. There is only that core, that seed, and I think beyond all of like the culture and the world around us, I think fundamentally we just are. And so I haven't gotten all of my theories quite straight yet, but I think that it's important to implement, like it was said, critical pedagogy, this sort of idea of what's going on in the educational system, and how are we educating people, and how does standardized curriculum and standardized ways of thinking about leadership, about education, about leaders, about people, how that affects the way that we treat others, and so on and so forth. And I think that also is connected to the feminist writings and women in literature, and women writers, and and even through history, and how they're sort of skipped or left out of our historical data.